I mean, not experience based on like me cheating.
No, but you could talk about the receiving
end.
end.
I have never cheated on a partner.
Okay. Well, there we go. So we're starting, and you guys already know what we're talking about. We're talking about cheating today. Welcome back. So we've been having some fun topics.
Well, that's because
breakups, cheating.
The option, there is no limit.
Yeah, are we going to cover death soon or
no? What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I mean, it's
you're
just like,
really dark.
This is where we're heading.
This is what happens when you wear too much black. You just like
it matches my
you
soul.
You just get into it.
So yeah, you were saying
cheating. That's the topic of the day.
No, but you said you've never cheated.
I have never actually cheated. Have you ever cheated?
I have once, unfortunately.
You rat.
Yeah. I got
Bastard.
caught.
You got caught?
Yeah, I was young, got caught, never again.
Okay. Yeah. Well, tell me the circumstances. What happened?
I was in a very passionate relationship that had a lot of jealousy from my partner. I have an actual concrete example for you. I used to work. I was working in nightlife, and one night I was at my job, and my girlfriend was there, and one of the bartenders, I asked her for drinks, and she said, "There you go, babe." And this is like. But
that's just like a
babe is babe.
Like I call my friends babe.
Yeah, babe is a straight up like night kind of like language. Like everybody calls each other babe. Girls will call you guys babe.
Yeah, of course.
And she got so fucking mad, and she was like, "What the fuck? She's calling you babe? Is she? Are you fucking this girl? Whatever." And it was kind of like a lot of that happening. At the time, Facebook was the shit. Like Instagram didn't exist.
Yeah.
And then we got arguments because somebody told her I liked this girl's picture on Facebook. So it was kind of like all
petty.
of this.
This is all sounding real petty to me.
I think, look, we were young, and we got, basically it came to a point where, unfortunately, we were arguing 3-4 times a week about shit like that. And one night I was like, I'm getting in arguments for something I didn't do. I might as well fucking do it. And then unfortunately I did it.
Right. So, okay, you found yourself in one of those situations where you get constantly accused of cheating, of looking at other girls.
Yes.
So you just give up and you say, you know what?
I'm just going to do it.
I haven't done all these things, but I'm treated just the same.
So I might as well just do it.
Might as well go and have fun.
Yeah. And
especially if you're miserable in a relationship, which it sounds like you were.
I really loved her. It was just like, the arguments and the headache was just becoming bigger than the actual fun in relationship. And eventually, that just happened. I think obviously I always blame it a little bit on my younger age, but I think I didn't handle it well. The right way to handle it would be to end it. But I just went out one night. We had a huge fight. I went out with my boys and I got wasted, and then, ended up reconnecting with an old lover once, and that's about it.
Okay, so it was one drunken night.
Yeah.
See, and that's what. Okay, so we have to first figure out what the definition of cheating is.
Oh my, yeah.
Because this is like
what's
spectrum.
Worse, emotional cheating or physical? Cheating?
We'll get into that. But I mean, I feel like everybody has their own definition, right? And everybody has their own like, okay, this is definitely cheating, black and white. And then for other people, it's a little circumstantial. So,
really? So, okay, tell me, when would it be circumstantial?
Circumstantial would be if you've been with the person and they have one slip up, one drunken night, and they and yes, I mean, it has happened. You have sex with somebody else, or like you make out with somebody else, or you get intimate in some way with somebody else because you dropped your guard and, you dropped your inhibitions.
And is that acceptable to you?
And that maybe things weren't good between you and your partner at that moment, because that's how it usually happens, right? It can't be just like bliss and then you go and like screw somebody else. Like I don't think it oftentimes happens that way.
Yeah, but do you think that's acceptable? Do you think that's not considered acceptable? Cheating?
I'm saying, is it forgivable? To me, it's forgivable.
But it's still considered cheating.
That would still be, yes, of course. By its nature, that's cheating, definitely, because but then there's other categories where, like, for example, it's almost like murder, right? Like premeditated murder.
Oh,
it's like, you plan it, you execute it, you try to cover it up, and you're hoping you don't
had a
get
whole
caught.
plan
You
and
lie
everything.
afterwards. Yeah. You have this whole plan, then you start to get like sweats, like flop sweats, and eventually you're figured out.
But like the drunken night is the equivalent of, you're chilling and somebody tried to mug you. You just stab them real quick. You're like, oh,
Right.
fuck. That just happened.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Self-defense.
Self-defense. Okay.
Yeah.
So drunken night is self-defense.
Drunken night is self-defense.
Premeditated murder is pretty much like, ooh, I have planned
full-blown affair
of cheating.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like I mentioned my father quite a lot in here because, a lot of relationship talk sometimes are with him. But he always told me that emotional cheating is worse than physical cheating. So it pretty much goes along with that. And I always had a hard time understanding. For him, exactly, right? Planning something, falling in love with somebody else while you are in an active, committed relationship with someone, being invested emotionally with somebody else, and repeatedly, keeping contact.
Hasn't happened.
Even if physical hasn't happened, which eventually will happen, for him, this is worse than a one night I was wasted. And he's talking as a man from a female standpoint. So like if a female did that to him, is worse than she got drunk, she was with her friends in whatever Vegas and fucked the dude, never talked to him again, and that's about it.
Well, it's interesting because there have been a number of studies, maybe this has changed, but at least, the ones that I'm referring to from a few years ago show that for men, they look at a sexual relationship as way worse than an emotional cheating
I could see that
situation.
Yeah.
And then women are more like on the emotional side. So if the man goes and sleeps with somebody else, it wouldn't be as bad as if he actually fell in love with somebody else.
Yeah, that actually
because
makes total sense.
Because I think there's a permanence in the falling in love and being emotionally attached to somebody else. Mm-hmm. Whereas, maybe one physical night can be a fleeting thing and you'll never do it again. And you might not see that person ever again.
Yeah.
And we are human beings. You know what I mean? And we do make mistakes. But I think it's different when you actually fall in love with somebody else, because that means you're also deeply unhappy in the relationship that you're currently in.
But I agree with that. I would rather be cheated on emotionally, where the girl's just falling for somebody else, than her things being pretty good with us and then she's just fucked some dude. Well, to me, that's a bigger disrespect.
It's a bigger disrespect if she emotionally falls in love.
Yeah, because I feel
that.
Exactly.
You can't help that.
You can't help falling in love with somebody else.
That's why they call it falling.
So, and that's why I'd rather that. It's not her fault, but she can control sleeping with somebody else. The whole alcohol thing. Listen, I've been drunk. When people say I was drunk, that's not. It's 50% of an excuse. You're still fairly, if you're that drunk that you can't control yourself, there's no way you're able to have sex.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're able to do it, you're still somewhat conscious of what you're doing.
I agree.
So it make things easier, but
I think it's an excuse. I think it's a scapegoat for most people who say, "Oh, I just got drunk," and kissing is one thing, but full blown sex is pretty different. I mean,
What about just also giving head?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's crossing a big line too.
Yeah.
I mean, typically you have to be in a private place for that to happen. You can't just like you can make out with somebody on a dance floor and get a little bit too close and a little bit too, you can easily cross lines there. But if you're doing a sexual act, typically that's like behind closed doors in a private setting. So you have to like willfully go somewhere else.
Yeah, to be able to do that,
there's always, aberrations where like the woman or the man is too drunk to be able to even know what's going on. In that case, that becomes like a victimization situation. That's not necessarily,
Yeah.
Then you're talking about consent and whatever. But what I'm talking about is like you get a little tipsy, and maybe you make out with somebody else. Yes, that's still cheating. But I think that's way more forgivable than having sex with another person.
Yeah, but then from your standpoint, having sex with another person is still more forgivable than being emotionally invested.
than being emotionally invested.
Okay, so that's the
Because
latter.
I mean, either way, to me,
Kissing, sex, emotion.
to me, either way, like honestly, unless I've been married to the guy for years and years, and we have a wonderful relationship, and this is just like we fell off track for a moment. It's a deal breaker either way. For me.
So I have so many questions. One of them is, if you are, let's say you've been with someone, and we're going to use short term, right? You've been with someone for a year and a half, 2 years, and you guys are great. You guys are happy. What are the odds of you being drunk and still make out with a stranger if you are happy in your relationship? I think that doesn't happen.
I think it does.
Even if you're happy in your relationship, you love your man, things are going great. Why?
Because it just happens. I mean, I've never been in that situation where I would allow it to happen.
Okay, so there you go.
That's the thing. And I think that, you just can't, you can't be stupid. Don't put yourself in those kinds of situations. I mean, it's fun to like go out with your girls to a club or a bar.
Yeah.
It's fun to even dance with other people. But, you have to know your boundaries. And like, I haven't been in a committed relationship with somebody and then have gone out to a bar or a club and been so intoxicated that I make mistakes like that.
Yeah. But that's my point.
But like, I can see people who, and I
even
know
if you're in a happy relationship.
I know good people who've been in good relationships where that's happened. And it hasn't changed anything. So I just know that people have frailties and they make mistakes, and I'm willing to give them leeway in that regard. But having a full blown affair, that's something completely different, which is actually
Yeah, but even with that, so you said earlier, that for example, a one night stand is forgivable. Sure, but personally, I believe. And that's what happened with me when I unfortunately cheated and she found out. The relationship was broken. Mm-hmm. Okay? You can forgive, but I don't think it's easy to forget.
I 100% agree.
And I find it very, very, very hard, unless you have kids in the mix.
Yep.
Houses together and that stuff, to be able to move past it and then rebuild trust and not have any resentment.
And that's why I say, for me, cheating is a deal breaker, not because of the act. Like, it's not the act of the guy going and being physical with another woman. Like, to me, that, yes, bothers me, but that's not what it's about. For me, it's about the aftermath and the damage that it can do to a relationship, irreparable damage that it can do to a relationship, because the trust is broken and because you're always going to be wondering, is it going to happen again?
Is it going to happen again? Yeah.
And then, when you don't trust somebody, then you start to get nosy and check their
it becomes
stuff.
Unhealthy.
And, even if they do things that can be seemingly innocent, like, staying out, going out with friends after work, you instantly start to think that he's out and he's with his boys and he's going to hook up with another woman.
Yeah, of course.
So the trust is forever broken.
So my question, so now, I think obviously you can talk a bit more about that specific aspect of cheating, about trust being broken from your marriage and everything. Was that partly one of the reasons why, once you found out, you were gone? Because you knew this was it was never going to work, that you personally could not work this out? Yeah.
Well, I look for patterns too. I mean, we were not happy. We were not a happy couple.
Okay.
And when I found out that he cheated, I had suspected it for a very long time, because I'm very attuned to the signs, which I'll talk about in a second. But I also know that, he did cheat on the previous wife. Similar situation.
Okay.
So, again, you look for patterns.
Yeah.
I think that somebody who's capable of going on business trips and cheating on his wife numerous times with numerous women and seeking it out, and not necessarily it happening like in a, one night you like kiss someone by accident,
like he's
whatever
active
it might
about
be.
the whole
He
thing.
is actively searching out. Yeah. I don't think that can ever be reconciled.
Okay.
And I don't think that can ever be reformed. I don't think that somebody who is cheated like that, to that degree, can ever change. Mm-hmm. I truly, firmly believe that. I think if it happened once, it's going to happen again.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
And that's what I would caution any woman who tries to excuse away that kind of behavior and look at it as, well, that was him in the past. He's learned lessons. No. No, he has not.
I mean,
no, he has not.
Okay, if it's him in the past for 15 years, agreed. But I see myself as from 10 years ago to now, I have changed. I do.
Well, you were, I mean,
I have.
But,
I mean,
but
it
also,
just not
Julien,
necessarily
like you said you cheated on one girl once.
Yeah.
And that was like to me seemed like a minor thing. You guys were like not in a happy place anyway.
Sure, but that's still, if we take into like, oh, okay, he's done it once, then again, but I'm talking about just behavior in general. We've talked about in the last podcast breaking up, and the way I broke up with someone when I was 21 is very different than the way I break up with someone now, because you learn from mistakes and you grow. So I agree with you. If the guy has done this for 15 years and he's 45 and he's cheated on every single wife, yes, he's going to do it. But if he has done it once or twice when he was younger and he was in a very unhappy relationship and all that stuff, I wouldn't say that just because he did it.
But if you're seeking it out and looking for trouble, that's never going to change. You're never going to be reformed in that way.
Okay, so then what would be? Let's talk about those.
Because that means there's
the
something.
Patterns.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your. You said you have signs and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about them.
Okay, so
what would be it?
Well, I just noticed, little things at first. I mean, to me, there is nothing more powerful in this world and accurate than your intuition.
Yeah.
And a woman's intuition especially is extremely powerful. You just know. And I can't explain to you how I knew, but I just suspected that something wasn't right. Something was a little off and shady about this person. And this is before we even got married. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know why, did not have a password on his phone. So I checked his phone a couple of times. Yeah.
I'm break right there. Him not having a password is the furthest thing from being shady.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's actually
or it's
quite
just
a relief.
Being arrogant and being dumb and not realizing that, your partner's ever going to check your phone. Okay. Because he was. I mean, he was sending messages to other women. He was emailing other women. He was making plans to meet up with other women. So once I found, you have to understand, once you find something like that, you can't stop looking.
Okay, yeah.
And you're going to look every spare second you get. And
so that which sign is that then? That's what would you call that sign?
So it's not like he was necessary. I didn't have any unequivocal proof that he was physically cheating on me with anybody. Mm-hmm. I just know that he was having conversations and sending inappropriate pictures to other people.
Okay. But we're talking about signs, right? You say, what are the signs of somebody possibly cheating? You said the first one is follow intuition. Your intuition will rarely lead you astray. Okay, what's the other one?
The other one was maybe doesn't want to have sex as much.
Okay.
You notice a change there. You're not as intimate. He doesn't initiate it that much anymore. If he seems distracted, where his, just mentally, he's not present. Mm-hmm. He's not there with you.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Okay. Could it be anything related to work and not to your relationship?
Sure, it could.
Could it be that he might be tired of having the same sex every time, that you guys are not spicing things up, that maybe it's been the same?
He needs to communicate that with you.
Yeah, but it's hard because as a guy, if you say, no, I feel like we should do somebody else, where women immediately goes into, am I not doing enough? What's
yeah?
No,
you're right.
So it's not an easy
that.
conversation because we can say something very simple as I'd like to do other things. I feel it's a little redundant. Mm-hmm. Try to say that to a woman without her being offended and now being fully, self-conscious about the thing.
And then every time you guys try to be intimate together, it's like, it's a thing.
Exactly. So that's not that easy too. And I also feel like we've talked about it, I think, on the first podcast, where guys crave novelty.
Yeah.
Right, especially when it comes to the bedroom. So I could see why after a year with the same person, sometimes even less, sometimes more, it's the same thing over and over again. So we don't get as excited to do it.
Okay, I mean, it's good that you're bringing this up too. These are just things that I've noticed. If that person starts to bring their phone with them everywhere. Okay. Even it won't even leave it momentarily on the couch with you. Like there was one time when, he actually he put his phone in his robe and took it with him to the shower. Another thing is if they change the password or put a password on their phone. Okay, that means they don't want you snooping around.
I mean, most phones have passwords though nowadays.
A lot of phones have passwords
most
nowadays.
Of them.
And I have a password, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just I have a password.
Okay, so I'm gonna debate this one. Most phones have passwords. You have a password and you're not a cheater, so that doesn't necessarily mean that they're cheating. Also, you could be, you can set up your phone so that your text message doesn't pop on your actual screensaver. So if he is a cheater and he's an active cheater, knows what he's doing, he could leave his phone here with his password in front of you, and you would never know that he has an actual text message coming from a stranger because they don't pop on the actual screen. There's a way to do that in your notification center. So taking your phone with you, sure. Leaving the phone is also, a way to. I'm talking like if he's a master cheater, like, you know what I mean?
Well, obviously he wasn't very good at it.
No, obviously he wasn't, especially if he didn't have his. Yeah, it seemed that he was kind of asking for it.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, those are kind of just the signs that I noticed. I mean,
but keep it up. I think it's good that we.
Listen, I found clothes in my laundry that weren't mine.
Okay, well, yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, you look on. I looked on a website. I mean, I saw that he was on. I saw that he was on Craigslist. Legit Craigslist. Like back page.
Oh yeah.
Craigslist, like 1995.
Okay, yeah. So that man might actually be a little sick.
Yeah, something. I mean, there's also websites that are set up specifically to help people cheat.
Yeah.
And there are apps that are set up specifically to help people cheat as well. So if you have it in you, you're going to try to get away with it at least. But I truly do think that your intuition will never lead you wrong. And if you suspect that your significant other is cheating on you, then that's definitely cause for a conversation at the very least.
Okay.
Because you wouldn't be feeling that way if everything were right.
Fair. But then, okay, let me give you the example of the girl I cheated on. Her intuition told her that I fucked the bartender who called me babe. And that is a wrong intuition. And
that's a girl.
Her intuition said that if I'm liking this girl's picture on Facebook, that I probably fucked her. That's not accurate.
I'm talking about like a sane, rational, normal, functional human being.
And do you think that as a woman, if you're sane and rational? No, you don't.
Yes, I mean, I would like to think that I am.
Yeah, and I'm sure that girl thought she was very sane and very rational too.
I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm just saying, like, this is what I've noticed.
No, I hear you, but like, I'm sure there's some crazies that, will see a knife, not necessarily put it in the wrong place. He's like, I never put that knife there. Some bitch probably put it there. And you know what? He's a cheater because he took his phone to the bathroom. Yeah, guess what? He took a shit, took 20 minutes. He wanted to play games. You know what I mean? So it's like, it goes a little bit, I think.
He wanted to play Tetris while he was pooping.
Yeah, I was scrolling through the gram or something, whatever, watching some TikToks. I don't care. But what I mean is that it's so circumstantial. You know what I mean?
But,
and I'm sure now, for example, unfortunately, because of what happened to you, you could probably look into behaviors that are totally unsuspicious, but you think they are.
And let me tell you something. I am a freaking savant.
I'm sure. I know. We've already established you're a creep. We have already.
Not even a creep. No, it's not a creep behavior. It's like you're just covering your own butt because like you listen, you don't want to invest any more time than you need to in a relationship if it's going to go south in this way.
Okay, I think listen, I agree with two of the things that you said. Only, unfortunately, I agree with if you have an intuition, definitely maybe start following up on that and trust your gut, assuming you haven't been clinically diagnosed as crazy.
Well, but this isn't like even a matter of like, and by intuition, I don't mean like the knee jerk jealousy, like oh, you seem like you're like making eyes at the waitress. Have you guys hooked up?
No, it's a gut feeling. I know what you mean.
Like a knee jerk kind of jealousy kind of reaction. I'm talking about the overall
gut feeling,
feeling in your gut where you just want to throw up all the time.
I get it. Yeah, this I agree with. I also agree with you in the sense that if you do have this feeling, bringing it up is the healthiest way to cope with it. However, if he, again, is a cheater, he will say, of course not, babe. You're crazy.
Not.
Of course. What? Why would I do that?
Absolutely. Just be prepared that he's going to deny it. He's going to do everything in his power to make you believe that nothing is happening.
Okay,
And that
let's
everything
also
is
say
good.
she, because it's not only guys
I'm
that
sorry. You're right. You're right. That's my bad. Yes.
No, but we're talking
Or
about your
she.
experience, so of course you're talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's, I mean, this is crazy. What about, what I'm interesting about, like, when it comes to cheating too, is I don't believe that those 30, 40 years of marriage couple
have never
happily married couple have never cheated, right? And I've had conversation, with girls and stuff, or guys, and it's more girls where they're like, well, my parents are happily married. They've been together for 40 years. They're very happily married. I'm like,
you could be happily married, but also have
that's
gotten
it.
on with somebody else.
Exactly. And then I would say, how do you know they never cheated? Oh, no, well, I've seen the way my father likes my mom. That's impossible. I was like, do you genuinely think that your father one day would come up to you and say, hey, I'm very happily married, but just so you know, I did fuck another girl. Yeah. Or your mom said, I did have an affair. They wouldn't tell you. No, of course, as a child, as your parents, they want to keep up that thing. I would love to believe that you could be with the same person for 30 years and never do anything sexually with anybody else. Unfortunately, with the world around us and the experiences I've seen, I wish it was possible. I'm hoping it is possible. I don't think it is.
I don't know if it is either. I and I don't know, but I do know that as you get people who were born in the 40s and 50s, in the 1940s and 50s, are more likely to cheat than people who are born in later generations.
In the 40s and 50s, well, there'd be 70 right now. They're not cheating.
No, but I mean over the course of their marriages is what I'm saying. Like they were more likely to cheat than people who were. And I think it might have a lot to do with the idea that it just wasn't as out in the open. I mean, there wasn't such a thing as like couples therapy, really. It wasn't like a prevalent thing back then. I mean, you just had to like keep your head down and work through the marriage because it's going to be tough. And like that was just the thing, And you stay together, you have kids and you stay together, especially if you were born in a certain part of the country or if you have certain beliefs.
But how is that making people cheat more?
Because I don't know. Ask them. But I just feel like maybe it's like the longer you've been together, the more inclined you are to cheat. I know the age gap for cheating widens as you get older. So or the disparity between men and women. So for example, there was this survey that was done, Institute for Family Studies. They say that men are more likely to cheat than women. Mm-hmm. So it's like 20% to 13%. And that widens as you get older. And for what reason, I don't really know. I mean, I guess you could probably come up with your own reasons for that, but
but I'm curious you said that people that were born around the 50s or the 40s were more likely to cheat, but I don't understand why.
It could be I mean, it's a generational thing.
But is that like a fact, or is this just an assumption that you're making? That people in the 40s? No,
that's a fact. It was based on surveys, but I don't really know exactly why. I don't know the reason behind it.
Oh, okay. So it's a fact that people
you can interpret it however you want to interpret it.
That were born in the 40s and the 50s tend to cheat more than people that are born in right now, like in like their 80s.
It could also be that part of it, like maybe more people our age aren't getting married. Period, because they're still
cheating in relationship.
Well, we're talking about in a marriage.
Oh, in a marriage. Okay.
Yeah, in a marriage.
Why do men? Well, your question was why do men cheat more when they get older? I think it's just because that's when it becomes too redundant. I think as you get older. So let's say you get married at 30 or 35. You could probably keep it in your pants if you're really happy in your marriage till you're 45, and then I think you've exhausted every single aspect of the sexual relationship. And that's why as you get older, which means 45, 50, that's when you probably have an affair. I would assume that.
I also feel like maybe people who were born in the 40s and 50s were younger when they got married. And you go through a lot of changes. Like right now, people are getting married older and older. So people aren't getting married now until they're sometimes in their 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
Whereas people, our parents' generation or the generation before that were getting married at mid 20s.
Yeah.
Early 20s.
Yeah, probably.
You are not the same person from age 22 to 32, and definitely not between 32 and 42. So Yeah. I just think that, which brings me to the next question.
You just confirmed my point, by the way.
What?
That you're not the same as when you were younger. You
Whatever.
literally just confirmed it. You just said you're not the same when you're in your 30s and when you're in your 20s. And my point was, it's not because you cheated when you were younger that you'd be a cheater when you get older.
You know what I'm saying.
Thank you for
Julien.
confirming my point.
You know what I'm saying.
God, that was, I didn't have to do anything. She confirmed it herself. I didn't have to do anything.
Sometimes. You just, okay. Which brings me to my next point.
Yeah, let's move to your next point.
My next point is monogamy a natural thing for human beings?
Damn, that's such a... I have no idea. I would like, again, I'd like to believe it is. Just have a hard time doing it. I think men and women are different on that thing. I think a woman is able to be monogamous easier than a man is.
We have different responsibilities, though. Typically, our responsibilities, if we have children, those are our responsibilities. And I think that keeps you there. I think that's more compelling of a reason to keep you monogamous than... But I don't even know if that's true. I mean, because you're talking about, like 20% to 13%. That's not a huge difference.
It's not a huge gap. But I do think that just men and women are just different. They're just wired differently. I think, the woman... I might be wrong, but I think a woman cheats because she's genuinely unhappy in her marriage. She cheats because she's lacking physical attention. She's lacking emotional attention. Men cheat because they're horny for this new pair of breasts they haven't touched. Which I know, but it literally, I genuinely believe this is a difference. This is you could have the perfect woman at home that you love emotionally and stuff. You still have that desire, unfortunately, to fuck that.
But Julien, you have to understand, everybody has that desire, like what if? Everybody has eyes.
I think it's stronger on men than it is on women. I think it's stronger. The physical aspect of sex is a stronger drive on men than it is on women.
I don't necessarily agree with that, and I think that it all comes down to self-control. Okay,
so are you able to? Tell me something, right? You're walking down the street, you see a guy you're attracted to, and you go, and would you say, you know what? If he asked me right now, I would fuck that guy.
If I were in a committed relationship.
No, you're single. And it's like, I don't know that guy. I don't know this person. I don't know his name. But if he came up to me right now and said, I want to fuck you, would you say yes?
No.
No, exactly. A man, if he's single and you see a girl that he think is hot, if she comes up to him and say, I don't know your name, but I'd like to fuck you, sir, we will say yes.
Okay, yeah, because
so this is where we're different.
Because you don't have the threat of being sexually assaulted. Okay, that's why.
You know what I
mean?
That's
violence.
That is not why you say no. It's not.
That is a big part of it.
Okay, he's safe.
Julien,
he's not going to strangle
danger. Stranger danger. We have been told from a very early age.
Take that out of the. I'm talking sexually speaking. Take away. He's not a rapist. He's not going to murder you.
You don't know that though, and
okay,
I can't take that away.
I'm telling you, in this thing, he's not.
He's not, and I'm single, and I thought he was that attractive.
You thought he was? Yeah, but you don't even. That's the thing. Guys don't even need to think they're that attractive. They just need to think they're pretty attractive.
Sure, but you're also not a animal. You're not an animal. You have self-control. That's what separates us from animals.
We do. That doesn't mean we wouldn't do it. So we don't do it because we have self-control, and there's still plenty of guys that would do it. It's just we wouldn't because obviously we feel like it's
what you're trying to say is that men are more motivated by physical contact and sex than women are.
Yeah, and I think that women need a bit more of an emotional involvement to be satisfied. I think that's a fair assumption.
I think that women can have detached sex just as much as a man can. But when you're in a relationship, and I'm just speaking again for myself, like there are definite barriers that I put up, without a doubt. I know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. That doesn't mean that I'm not looking at somebody else and thinking and even wondering like, oh man, what would it be like? But that it's quite a different thing to act on.
Desire is always going to be there.
Desire
of course,
is always
if you don't act on it. But guys can have desire and not act on it too.
Right.
The only point I was trying to make is that I genuinely believe that it doesn't require much for a man to be okay to fuck a girl, and I think it requires a little bit more for a woman to say okay to fuck a man. That as a stranger. I just think.
So
I think
then
that's
how?
fair
So then
assumption.
how are we supposed to? What are we supposed to think about the idea of monogamy in general? That it's not achievable?
I think.
Long-term monogamy.
I don't know. I think. We. Honestly, I wish I knew how the cavemen used to do it when there weren't all
Cavemen
these
used to
rules.
do it all the time with
Yeah,
everybody.
That's it. When there weren't
That's
all
the
these
thing.
rules and church and religion saying you can only be with one woman, all that stuff. I wonder.
Also, the lifespan was a lot shorter back.
Also, I don't know. I think it's gonna sound very pessimistic, but I think I have a hard time believing you can be 30 years with someone with not slipping and not being attracted. I
I have a hard
genuinely
time
hope.
believing that's possible too.
Yeah.
I do.
Now monogamy, I think we
Especially
should
nowadays.
strive for it.
Especially now. And
Oh
at
my
some
God, yeah.
point in this podcast, we're going to talk with somebody who I'm familiar with at the Kinsey Institute, who's a
Oh, the
love
anthropologist?
anthropologist. Yep. And she's going to be able to talk about why things have changed the way they have. Because I really don't think, genuinely believe this. I don't think that married couples right now have a shot at being married for 30, 40 years without having a slip up, because it's just too accessible now. It's too easy to cover up. It's too accessible. It's too in your face.
And also, I think it's important that we mention that because, we're saying all these things, right? And people might listen and be like, oh my God, these are the worst fucking people to be in a relationship with. They don't think in it.
Right.
It's just, we're just being honest
Yeah.
with how we're seeing it. Doesn't mean we're not striving for it. Like I strive and I hope I can get a relationship that I can stay with this person for the rest of my life, be happy and build a family. I do have a hard time believing this can actually happen. Doesn't mean I'm not going to try.
Right.
I'm going to try to
course.
get there.
Of course.
As much as possible. So I just want to, clear the
No,
air
no,
here
me
in a
too.
sense of-
Because people probably do think we're
think
pretty vile.
we're probably like, oh my God, these guys, these are crazy. But it's just I think part of this podcast is also just being bluntly honest about how we feel and what we think.
Yeah.
So to go back to your point, the long-term couples and the cheating, I think marriage could work long-term 30, 40 years. If you kind of have that rule, as in don't tell anything.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? In a sense of like,
so you mean like if you're going to go and do what you do, just don't let me know about it?
don't let me know
Just
about
go
it.
and
Don't
do
do
what
it in
you
our
do.
home. You know what I mean? Like
That-
whether
well,
it's like you want to like, it's not a spoken thing, but maybe, as a couple you need to sit and it's like, listen, if you're on a trip one day, or as a golf trip with your guys, or you're on a trip with your girls, and you're out of the country, you're out of the house, and something happens, don't tell me about it. And I think that is the only way to make it work. If you're going to be in that kind of possible cheating state, in the sense of like, ooh, I can do it if I want to. First of all, once you know you can do it, it already takes the thrill.
I think that's like the birdcage theory. Like you can see the cage is open, the door is open, you can come and go as you please, but you want to make it, but sometimes just because you have the freedom to do it doesn't mean you're going to go and do it. You can see it. You can go explore if you want to.
Yeah, I can do it if I want to.
But that doesn't mean, because the more you set up boundaries for people, I think the more inclined they are to want to break down those barriers and push those boundaries, and don't touch that red button.
Yeah.
You're going to want to touch the red button.
And also I think after, if you've been like 20 years with someone, your relationship is so much more than just sex and being in love, right? Technically after 20 years, you guys are actual 20, 30 years, you're life partners, right? You probably have a home. You probably have investments. You probably have kids together. You probably have all of these things that are so much more important. Now it's like you have your home, right? Your family.
Yeah.
And this is so much more important than the sexual desire for the waitress that he might have, or that the bartender that she might have, right? So I think if you're in a healthy relationship with your partner and you guys have a good thing going as a partnership, I could understand how a couple could sit down and says, listen, we've built something amazing.
Right.
And I think the way to preserve it is that if we need to fucking do something physical. We don't, we do it without the other person, and we do it somewhere else.
I mean, there are plenty of couples out there who have that agreement.
Yeah.
And typically it's like the ones who
that works.
who are seemingly blissfully, in love and have been married for years and years. Like if you're listening, maybe it's your own parents. I don't know. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying like there are plenty of couples out there who figured that out.
That doesn't shock me, honestly.
No.
That doesn't shock me. That I can have a discussion with my wife and be like, we've been together 20 years. I'm not stupid. I know you probably have desires. Let me just, the ground rules are if and when and if something should happen, not in our home, and I don't want to hear about it. And, obviously try to not do it fucking every weekend.
And that's not necessarily a bad arrangement. Yeah, and try not to do it every weekend. Yeah. I mean, don't let it impede on our relationship.
Yeah.
Like as long as you're coming home to me and we are able to preserve what we have been able to build over the course of X number of years, as long as we're able to preserve the family, then all right.
Yeah, because I think you've reached
you've
reached such a different level of intimacy with this person that I think you can understand that it's purely just a physical thing that needs to get out of it. I don't know. I'd like to think so.
Cheating has existed since the beginning of time, since the beginning of relationships. It's not going to go away. It's always going to be a thing. So it's almost a matter of how do you manage it and how do you work through it. If you feel like you can work through it, if you know that your partner's cheated and you feel like you can work through it, then God bless you.
Fuck yeah. I don't know how you're going to do that, but I would not be able to.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. There's so many layers to all this. It's quite a complicated subject, but I do think we have quite different.
We do.
Yeah, a little bit like kind of butt heads a little bit on that one today, which is nice.
We need
it's nice.
We're not always we
can't always agree on everything. I think that's right, but
nor should we.
It seems though that you agree on the whole long-term thing. The long-term relationship, and I do think it just evolves.
Yeah.
You got to be open with your partner and be able to talk about it. And what if you have a week of a year?
A week a year?
You guys give each other a week or your babe. You do whatever the fuck you want.
That's like a lot of pressure, right? I feel like you would like feel the pressure to like get it. Somebody.
Yeah.
Like you'd feel, I don't know. Like, have you seen that Hall Pass movie?
Yeah.
Where the guy goes to like Applebee's and he's like
trying to
find
Owen Wilson,
something.
no?
Yeah, I think so. It would feel like a Hall Pass situation where it's like, you feel that pressure to like do it.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to do it any other time. I don't think that's
the dude is probably like, spending his whole year planning that week and lining up hoes for the week. It's like, okay, so hey, this is September, but in March of 2022, I will be available Monday. Yeah, you're going to be up around 2 a.m. because I will most likely come by.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that's the solution either.
No.
I just think you have to do what makes you happy as a couple. And if it doesn't make you happy, then you really shouldn't be together anymore because, we only go around this earth once. And unless you believe in reincarnation, but you only do this once and you need to be happy while you're doing it because, why make yourself miserable in a partnership if it's not even really a partnership to begin with?
Yeah. But sometimes, again, you have those partners that are happy in a relationship and they just want to have sex with someone else.
I don't know. That's why I say do what makes you happy.
Okay, so then you're just telling them to cheat.
I'm not saying cheat. I'm not saying cheat.
You just said that.
No, I'm saying do what makes you happy. Like if you are not happy in a relationship, get out of the relationship.
And what if you're happy in a relationship but you still want to go have sex with a stranger?
Then go to therapy.
But it makes them happy though.
It makes them happy. No.
They can
okay,
say I'm following
Jen's.
Jen said I should do what makes me happy, honey. So I saw that.
Then have a conversation with your partner. Have a conversation with your partner about it. Before you go and sleep with strangers. I
did find interesting the fact that you don't think you could stay monogamous. I thought you would be more considering your conservative background.
Grew up in Ohio?
Yeah, I think like you'd probably strive for that, but it seems no.
No.
Did you believe in it before?
Did I? Listen, there are things that in my own family that happened where You know, yeah, like you have a reality check when you talk to your parents and you realize that they're human beings.
Yeah.
You know, you have a reality check, and I'll just say that.
So you believed in possible monogamy at first, but then eventually you kind of changed about it.
Eventually, I was like, it's something nice to strive for, and if you can achieve it, which I think people have achieved it. I do think there are people out there who've maintained monogamy for decades and decades. And if that's the case, then great. But I also am reasonable in knowing that it's a very difficult thing to do.
Do you know anybody who has achieved it? And if so, were they good looking? Right? Because it's easier to, I'm just saying, it's easier to stay monogamous.
Good looking?
Stay monogamous if you
If
don't
you don't
have
have
many
any other
options.
Oh God! You know my friend
Unless
Suki,
you go for prostitute, but it's true.
My friend Suki said this. She said, and this is just her being cynical.
And is she attractive?
I think yes, she's beautiful. She was my co-anchor at Fox 5.
Okay.
So she she said a man is only as faithful as his options, and that's an extremely cynical thing to say.
Yeah.
But I also am inclined to believe that there's some truth to that, because think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're a middle manager, like, living in Nebraska. You got a little dad bod going on. Maybe you're like getting a little, monkey butt like on your head.
You and your hair. God
all right.
damn it.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't think you're going to have as many options as, say, like Chris Hemsworth. You know what I mean?
Well, Chris Hemsworth, let's just get this straight. Chris Hemsworth can have sex with whoever he wants, whenever he wants, guy and girl included.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you'd be the first to
I will be the first in line for this man, because
you'd have to push me aside first, though. That's all I'm
saying. I will
saying.
fight you for Chris Hemsworth. Don't give a fuck. No, but I mean, okay, it's true. There's the physical aspect. There's also where they live. It's true. You're right that if you live in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, there's not going to be anybody to cheat on.
Yeah.
Cheat on with, whatever it is.
So, I mean, I also, and not to mention, it was very like in our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, it was a very closeted, like, shameful thing to, like, go out and cheat and, like, break the sanctity of marriage. Whereas right now, it's like, that's why they have couples therapy. You know what I mean? And that's why, they have, like, those sex dolls that people can hook up with.
Would that be cheating?
A sex doll?
If your husband is actively fucking a sex doll in your home.
I think eventually we're all going to have sex with sex dolls.
But is that cheating?
And we're just going to all stay away from each other and
You're not answering my question. Is that cheating?
Is it cheating if you have sex with a sex doll? No, Julien.
It's not?
No, it's not. No.
What if he has sex with a sex doll 4 times a week, but only sex with you once a week?
Then you probably should check yourself into an institution. I feel like.
Then you're dating a
psychopath.
TLC
show, like My Strange Obsession or whatever it is.
Oh my God. All right. We're drifting away.
So
and
I think that's a great place to end.
Yeah.
Personally.
Sex dolls. I agree. I am excited to get that love anthropologist though, because that will be very nice whenever we can get her.
ASAP.